Please welcome to the stage the Warfighter Service Component Panel.
All right. Good morning, Space Force. Are you awake? Come on, you just heard the combatant commander for space. Wow, that's bright. I need a little more excitement here. Yeah! All right. Hey, I want to say thanks to the Space Force Association for this incredible Spacepower conference. And I want to thank my colleagues. I'll introduce them here in a minute. This is the Warfighting Component Panel. And they gave us a whole 40 minutes to talk about I'm just kidding, Pippi, I don't know where you are. But and I had a great, little 5 minutes. I was going to talk about S4S, but my boss, General Whiting, did that for me in his last discussion. So, but no, we're going to have a great conversation here, and thanks for taking time out today. So yesterday you heard the CSO, and he talked about the 5 years of building up the Space Force, and then you heard him talk about the future and the truths that are out there. And you heard from Space Operations Command and STARCOM, and you'll hear from Space Systems Command later today. But today you're going to hear from the Space Force warfighters, the components that are out with the combatant commands that actually take the forces that Spock and SSC and STARCOM give to us, and we actually execute those on behalf of combatant commanders. You heard the CSO yesterday talk about there might be a little confusion on whether combatant commands or services fight wars. And of course, we all know combatant commanders are charged with that in their area of operations. But it is the service components that actually do the warfighting. And what we have right here is some of those service components. Last year, if you were here, you heard about 2 service components that had just stood up, and that was U.S. Space Forces Space. And I have the privilege with Chief Timmerman to lead that command, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Yeah, whoever was doing that in the back. That was for you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. And we also stood up U.S. Space Forces Europe, Africa, and we'll get to those conversations, and of course, we'll talk about it a little bit. But I do want to talk a little bit about S4S and what the year has been. Chief Timmerman and I have the pleasure of leading thousands of assigned, attached, and force-presented guardians and joint members across the world that provide excellent operations in the U.S. Space Command AOR. And across right here, of all those force-presented forces that we get from Spock to all of our commands, each and every day, Guardians, along with their joint members, go into Operations Center, and they perform exquisite operations, and they do that with excellence, so that every day the leadership of the People's Republic of China and the Russian Federation and anybody that wants to do harm to the United States says, not today. Today is not the day to take on the United States because of the commands that appear. And it's really because of the women and men Guardians out there who do operations every day. Real quick, on the first anniversary last week of S4S, you heard from the combatant commander some of the things we have done. We separated from Space Operations Command. We combined 2 joint functional commands into the service component that we do that today. You heard from General Whiting that he's given us the CGIFSIC responsibilities and the Space Operations Control Authority. We wrote the first ever Joint Space Operations Plan that is a service component to the Combatant Command's operational plan and also affects one of these Combatant Command's operational plan as well. We execute Multi-Mission National Force Operation Olympic Defender every day. And we do that with our partners, our original partners, the UK, Canada, and Australia. And then we just added new partners with New Zealand, France, and Germany. We have signed our first concept of operations for OOD in the Space Domain Awareness, and we held our first Operations Olympic Defender Operations and Intelligence Brief at the secret REL 5I, France, and Germany. And of course, as you heard the boss say, we've expanded our commercial integration cell to 15 companies, and we continue to work with our Joint Commercial Operations Cell in Colorado Springs. We do all that through the National Space Defense Center at Schriever, the Combined Space Operations Center at Vandenberg, the Missile Warning Center at Cheyenne Mountain, the Joint OPIR Center at Buckley, and the Joint Navigation Warfare Center in Albuquerque. But we cannot do that without the forces that are force presented to us. As you heard from General Miller yesterday, we have done a new model with SPA 4Gen that provides forces to all of us. And what we have done, as we did that last July, is the first time ever, took forces, trained them, and then force presented combat squadrons and combat detachments that are assigned to service components. We're just at the end of that first phase. General Miller and I are going to do a debrief of that along with the other service components, and then we'll enhance that for the next phase that'll start in January. But those forces are training on the JSOP. They are using our unit prep messages to be prepared. And again, as I said earlier, they are the best forces in the world, and they make sure that no one comes at us. And so with that, we're going to get to the panel, and I'm going to introduce the panel members. First, I've got Brigadier General Tony Chachi Mastallier, who's the commander of U.S. Space Forces Indo-Pacific. Right next to him, yeah. All right. Right next to him, I've got Brigadier General Jake Middleton, the commander of U.S. Space Forces Europe Africa, and we've got we've got Colonel Chris Toole Putman, the commander of U.S. Space Forces Central.
Woo! Yeah.
And then my battle buddy, Chief Tina Timmerman, the command senior enlisted leader for U.S. Space Forces Space. Yeah.
Tina.
And then we've got a rock star here of Chief Master Sergeant Jeff Grilla, the command senior enlisted leader for U.S. Space Forces Center. Let's give him a hand.
Woo! Nice job, guys. Take him big.
All right, so as I said earlier today, we got to step lively. They only gave us 40 minutes, so we got to go, and I just took up some of your time. So. All right. So I'm going to go first to the three commanders. Your commands are, a couple of years old, maybe a year old in some cases. And we know it takes time for new organizations to evolve and settle. But please tell us how things are going. What are your challenges? What are you doing to get after the challenges? And how can maybe some of the folks in the room here help you out with that? Chachi, I'll start with you.
Thanks, General Shess. I appreciate that. And really, shout out to SFA for this venue and putting this panel together. I look forward to this growing in the future as we stand up additional service components around the globe. Going first in Indo-PACOM was significant, not just because the message that it sent throughout the Indo-Pacific region, but the onus is on the guardians of the Indo-Pacific to really build the baseline for what a service component should look like. The mission analysis has been ongoing. We culminated as we approached our 2-year birthday, which we celebrated last month. And we're really close to about 10,000 hours of mission analysis. And if you've read Gladwell's Outliers, that's a magic number. It really helps us understand what does a service component, what should a Space Force service component look like? And then we're sharing that information on a regular basis with the other components as they continue that process. So that's culminated in a programming plan, which is really thorough, robust analysis, and is in the Pentagon now in L2 Cord, where the space staff is making it even better. So that'll set the blueprint. It sets the manning models, which we don't really have for service components. And it also helps us inform the other members, the other components in the combatant command, what the Space Force plans to bring to the fight. So that's a huge accomplishment. At the same time, we're doing the operational planning as we go through our O plans, as we go through the JULC, the Joint Exercise Life Cycle, getting the campaign plan. We're ready to sign our first campaign plan this month, and the component support plan. So all of those plans are ongoing. And then the third major line of effort, of course, is international engagement, and we'll talk more about that throughout the panel. But that's been a huge point of emphasis for Space Forces Indo-Pac.
Hey, Chachi, thanks. Jake, you got a year under your belt, or your command has a year under your belt. You got there this summer. Talk to us about Europe, Africa.
Yes, sir. So, as General Mastallier pointed out, they've done a lot to pave the way, and Colonel Putman, the same thing. So, obviously we took a look at what was being done before we even stood up. And so that was very helpful. The uniqueness about Space Forces Europe and Africa, excuse me, is so one of my 4-star bosses, obviously General Saltzman. The other one is the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe. The other one is the Commander of AFRICOM. So trying to make sure we meet all of those expectations has been a challenge, but not unexpected. But it hasn't been too big of a challenge. You and your team, General Miller and Space Operations Command, General Burt, Space Force, as well as the other components, General Williams, General Hecker, and Admiral Munch have been very helpful with bodies and mentoring and all the stuff we need to get to where we need to be. So we're in a process of solidifying what I call our IOC criteria that satisfies those requirements. And then we will take a look at what it means to be fully operational. What I would leave and what I would say I need from the rest of the Guardians, I think STARCOM does a great job providing me the Guardians I need to get the job done. What I ask my team is that when we're putting together a plan, so our bosses all have a campaign plan, the job of the adversary is to get us off plan. And we all heard the famous saying from Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Right.
And so we need to have a plan. First of all, the plan is don't get punched in the mouth. If you are punched in the mouth, stay on plan. If you're off plan, get back on plan. Our job is to get the adversary off plan and stay on plan. And so when I think about questions about innovation, adaptations or challenges, that's what we do. That's our job. That's what separates us from everybody else. We think outside the box, we get back on plan, and we get the adversary off plan. So that's what I need everybody to kind of focus on from my perspective.
Thanks, Jake.
Yes, sir.
Tool, Central Command never goes away, right?
Yes, sr. Action Com is the official title. And we are only one day younger than Space Force's INDOPACOM, our older sibling there. So what's been happening in CENTCOM, I'll just preface this by saying, who would have thought the largest ballistic missile attack in history would have happened not once and but twice in 1 year? Guardians were part of that, every single piece of the kill chain in defending our partners in the region. Who would have thought the Houthis would have been the first entity to fire an anti-ship ballistic missile at a U.S. Navy capital warship and commercial shipping? Guardians are part of that every single day, helping protect. And everyone sees the news of everything that's going on in the Middle East. Guardians are part of that every single day. But one of the big challenges is now that we're a service and now that we're a service component, what are those wartime functions that we never thought of? After that first attack, we needed an accounting of every single Guardian in the AOR. Just not something we've done in combat before, and our processes and our IT systems and all those other things just don't exist. So a little different than the two generals to my right. We've been wholly focused on the current combat operations and building the organizations, and some of those things have kind of fallen by the wayside, but that's what we've had to do. So I think the synergy between the components of what can we learn in current combat operations and share with them, and what can we learn from them on building the organization, there's a bright future for the components going forward.
Thanks, Tool. All right, Chiefs. Our efforts to integrate allies and partners have significantly grown throughout the years. Tell us your perspective on where you think we're doing well, where we can maybe make some adjustments, and where we can improve. So, Chief Grillo, I'll start with you.
Thank you, General. Yeah, a key decision was made that really set the Space Force up for success in our endeavor to partner to win. And that decision was 3 years ago when General Saltzman decided to stand up service component commands sooner rather than later. For sure, not an easy decision at the time, and in some regards still holds true when you think about our resource constraint environment that we're operating in, particularly in the personnel resources. But the right decision to make for sure, because what it enabled was for the service components to establish that connective tissue at the tactical and operational level, not just the strategic, with the combat commands, in areas that it would have been pretty difficult to do otherwise if not for the service components. And integrating us in the joint warfight. What does that mean for Space Center? What does that look like as a test case? My boss, Colonel Putman, has got a seat at the table with the other component commanders to include the Special Operations component at the General Kurilla's table. That really set the conditions and opened up doors. Going forward to the headquarters at Al Udeid, which is still in the CAOC. We're not looked at now as only supporting the air component, but now we're looked at as it was with the DS4 back in the day. Now we're looked at as a full-fledged service component on equal footing with the other components, and applying our skill set and our capabilities on equal playing field with the other components. That opened up other doors, and then as we're pursuing operational relevance, we knew that in order to do that, we needed to pursue partners, both allied and coalition partners, as well as DoD mission partners. As they saw us doing that, that also opened up the door for them to pursue us. And nobody's pursuing you, by the way, unless you're good at what you're doing. And that's a real testament to the deployed forces that we get every 6 months. So shout out to Del 3 and Del 4 in particular. And really, when you think about 3TAC1 and our Space Operations Center, the entire Space Force Enterprise STARCOM, SSC included. That opened up other doors, and I know in this conversation a lot of doors are opening up, but that's a good thing. That opened up other doors to where we are really a blended organization forward. We have a Canadian that's fully integrated into our Space Operations Center and pulls crew. We have 2 Australians that not only pull crew on the Space Operations Center, but also work in the 3-5 and doing some planning for us. Until recently, we had a UK 05 that's being gapped right now, and we're hoping to get another one here shortly. We also have 4 soldiers from Space and Missile Defense Command that are our space control planning team that are so integrated that they're really doing far more than they were initially asked to do, and it's just been outstanding. I would be remiss not to mention the outstanding continued partnership with the Spacecom GIST team as well. And that really allows us to provide outstanding world-class space capability to the combatant command. It's outstanding. And so what we're doing well is we're pursuing service components in all the combatant commands, and you're going to continue to hear this theme of success and partnership and partnering to win continue. The one thing, the one obstacle, the one hurdle, what have you, that we've been seeing, no surprise to most people in this room, is overclassification, or in all fairness, perceived overclassification of what it is we do, which really is an inhibitor to really partner to the level that we'd like to partner. Tina?
Thanks, Chief. Tina, we work with allies every day. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm not, General Whiting didn't mention this, sir, and you briefly talked about it, but I don't think everyone realized I was sitting in my office on the 20th of November doing jazz hands and happy dances because the SDA CONOPS for MNF OOD was actually signed. And this was a significant process that was undertaken by a whole bunch of teams. And with that finally getting signed, what that's allowing us to do is provide an operational framework for our partners to plan and deliver SDA for our domain. The MNF OOD is now focusing to optimize space operations, resiliency, space-based capabilities and insurances, and enhanced resilience across our domains. And they're allowing that partnership to talk. General Chess is now using our ONIs, which have always been at the 5I level, but now that we've brought in 2 other partners, we're working with Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, France, and we're now doing operational ONIs that are doing crosstalks, and each partner and each nation is representing their interests and assets, and they're also speaking freely and allowing us to go a little bit, I think, to Air Marshal Godfrey's talk yesterday, like allied and by design, right? We are going forward because we know in the future fight, if we cannot have our allies and partners in the room with us, we will not be able to get after our mission, which I wanted to double down because my note for what we're not doing well is we still have significant overclassification problems. I think a little bit to what you said, sir. Here we are having a missile attack, and that information is coming in at Northhorn. And so here we're not even optimized here in 2024 where there's actual operations happening, and we cannot share it across across our command. So from our integration for our allies and partners, sir, that I think on a daily basis, S4S was set up very well with our history and foundation because we were already able to take the centers that we had, the 14th Air Force construct, a little bit of SPOC West. Here we had all of these great things and we turned it into a component command. But now we just need to take it in 25 to the next level, and I know you're gonna have a wonderful vision, and we're gonna get after it.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, and I just want to say to our partners that are out there, our allies, we know we couldn't do our jobs without you, and we really appreciate the work that you do with us each and every day. Hey, Chachi, I know that you have 2 subordinate commands under you with stand-up of Space Forces Korea a couple of years ago, and then just recently the stand-up of Space Forces Japan. Tell us how that's going. Tell us what you've learned from that, and anything you want to talk about those 2 commands.
Absolutely, thanks, sir. Korea has been a huge success. It's really important to have a Guardian commander in the Korean theater of operations. Just for all, to take the political instability that we're going through and being able to receive from the commander, General Camera, the guidance and ensure that the Guardians are postured and ready to support, as that combatant command subunified requires. A lot of great lessons learned in terms of how we're going to support that theater, the command relationships. And a lot of that has been ported now over to last week when we stood up Space Forces Japan, which is hugely successful, something we've been working on really since the day we activated. It's fortuitous that Lieutenant General Jost, who was the commander of the Joint Enabling Capabilities Command that helped us baseline the service components, is now the commander at USFJ, U.S. Forces Japan. And as the SecDef announced just a few months ago, we begin to build an operational headquarters in Japan, having a Space Force service component ready to plug in. The timing couldn't be better. So the support that the components in those countries provide, other than just the operational planning, it's that interaction with the allies in their nation, in their home nation. And as they build their capabilities, and as they develop, for example, Japan going from today a space operations group to eventually a wing and a 2-3 star level command, and the investment that they intend to make in the space domain, having a U.S. Space Force service component there under the leadership of Colonel Ryan Lawton is absolutely a positive impact in terms of driving toward interoperability. And that's one of his goals, is to bring our allies along as they build their capabilities so that they can become interoperable with your team here at Space Force Space and the rest of U.S. Space Command and the other Indo-PACOM components. So both great examples of Space Force making a positive impact in the joint and combined force.
That's great. All right, Jake and Tool, obviously conflicts are crazy in both of your AORs there, and the demand signal is high. I appreciate our early morning calls sometimes, or our weekend discussions while things are going on. But talk about some creative ways you guys are utilizing your limited staff and the partnerships you have to be effective for your combatant command. So, Jake, I'll start with you.
Yes, sir. So I touched on this before, and I think Chief touched on it, Timmerman. Allied by design. Like we can't do anything without our allies and partners, and we're part of the joint fight, the joint team, and so that's how you take the limited resources you have and cover down on everything. And you and your team have been very helpful. The other thing I would like to highlight, a couple of things I'd like to highlight for both EUCOM and AFRICOM, is that SSC, Colonel Rich Nisley has done a great job with TAC SRT. What we're doing in AFRICOM is an African-led partnership, U.S. supported, and we want to be the partner of choice. What TAC SRT allows us to do is to get unclassified information in as little as 90 minutes that's releasable to the local police. So if there's a humanitarian or disaster effort, flooding And the ability to go in and talk to the local leadership and provide that information about what's going on in their country is very helpful in getting after what General Langley wants to do. So I call, Rich Nisley all the time with the man, hey dude, I need more money. Like, this is a great product. As far as EUCOM is concerned, it's about partnership. So one of the things that we have to, that we do such a good job that people don't know that what they're getting is coming from space. I was on the plane the other day and Wi-Fi wasn't working. And, person comes by and is like, hey, can I get you some water? And an individual said, no, but I'd like some Wi-Fi. And so it's just something we take for granted.
True.
Right? So one of the things that I'm leveraging, your team, Space Command, and along with Space Force is getting out there to our partners, not just on the AFRICOM side, but on the EUCOM side, and say, hey, this capability comes from space. How important is it to you? What are you willing to spend to keep it? And taking a look at their process. So it's about traveling, building those partnerships, within the team of Space Command, Space Force, but also the broader combatant command.
Great.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir.
Tool?
Yeah, thanks, sir. A couple items that Chief mentioned the gist. Like most of our personnel in Space Center are rotational. We have very few permanent party folks. We rely heavily on the gist. And one of the things me and Colonel McConnell, who couldn't be here today, but anytime we get a new commander, JADER, whatever, we always go and sit down with them and lay out the lanes in the road. And bottom line within CENTCOM, if a request gets to either me or Chopper, we'll work it between us and give them the effect. And to everybody else, it's kind of immaterial where it comes from. So we couldn't do our job without the gist. I mentioned the rotational piece. So, how do we train our folks to be full up rounds day one to work in our ops center, right? Most of our folks that come and sit on the ops floor, they came from a different unit not doing that. We're wholly reliant on STARCOM to do our space warfighter prep course. So the last rotation, actually the last two rotations, their first week on the job was one of the missile volleys out of Iran. A couple of the kids, it was their first night on the floor, and there's 100 ballistic missiles going over. So we're working on a unit prep message to deliver to STARCOM and other folks to delineate exactly what our folks need to be able to do on day one, and it's not what they normally do back home. So how do we spin them up on that? The other thing we're working on is GFM. Now that we're a service, what does it mean to do GFM like all the other services and to normalize? I know that was one of General Saltzman's big things, and General Raymond. How do we normalize and get into those processes? So I think we're at the forefront of that because most of our forces are rotational. So working with headquarters, S7, and SPOC to normalize that. Last thing I'll add is what we're doing is we established our ops center as a command selected, squadron command selected position, a DO selected board selected position, and a senior enlisted leader selected position to run the ops center that's going 24/7. Two reasons. One, obviously the operations, to have an equivalent to the AOC commander to run that operations and someone they can go to for questions. The real impetus for starting this was having someone downrange on G-series orders to take care of our Guardians. We had numerous instances where we had folks downrange that were just an amalgamation of random Guardians. And we had medical issues, we had discipline issues, et cetera. We weren't doing a good job of taking care of our Guardians. So we stood up the SOC as a unit, and we have a command boarded position out there for an 05, 04 as a DO, and an E8. So that is already paying huge dividends, and like I said, it's the right thing to do, take care of our Guardians.
All right, Chiefs, we know that you spend a lot of time with our Guardians and you see what they're doing. So I'm just going to give you guys the opportunity to talk about something that's going great in either of your commands and just talk about some great opportunities there. So Chief Timmerman, I'll turn it over to you. So.
Thank you, sir. Coming over to Space Force Face, I've only been there a couple of months, but I've already been able to attend a few things, and I think from a command perspective, for morale and esprit de corps, right? We try to find the time in those operational breaks where we can to celebrate our teammates and celebrate our families. We've been able to do picnics. We've been able to have Space Force Space Thanksgiving, where obviously we invite all of our teammates and partners coalition But just to break bread, right? I think yesterday in the OG panel, I was thinking about what they were saying, and they were talking about being a part of something bigger than themselves, being a part of a team, being a part of family. And it's up to you and I, sir, to set the culture of our command. And we can't do that if we're not partnering and knowing our teammates. So from a morale perspective, I really want to start at the grassroots, making sure when people walk through our doors, whether they're a presented force or the actual staff at S4S, that they know that they are valued as a person. And we go back to a little bit about what Simsif said yesterday, that they are getting the Guardian experience, which is not what's happening in other services. But I am committed to our other services because we have soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, all working within S4S. So it starts with culture and climate, but it has to start with our members at the tactical level, because all of that floats up, but we're just setting the conditions at echelon. And I would say from a development perspective, the team has really looked very deliberately at what we can do and where we can participate. Because I think if we could do every exercise, we could do every deployment, we would all want to do it. But we just can't, right? So the team has looked at some very deliberate exercises that we're going to be able to get after and work with STARCOM and SPOC to make sure that we are getting committed teams that have gone through the advanced training and are able to execute the mission in which they've been given. So it has just been wonderful what we're doing within Space Force Space, and I appreciate the partnerships between SPOC, STARCOM, and SSC, allowing us to have truly great professional guardians working with us each and every day, executing warfighting missions.
That's a great perspective, Tina. I think being in close proximity and achieving the warfighting experience is probably the most exciting thing, to be honest with you. The exposure to not only different Space Force mission sets, everything's basically LUD with missile warning, EW, but even the excitement that we're getting from the other components like C, which is essentially SOC sent forward, is so excited about space capability, and General Jeffers talks about it all the time, essentially geeking out about it. They've established their own Guardian Task Force Sentinel at Al Udeid. So that's really exciting. We also do exchanges, the air defense, the Army air defense element at Al Udeid. We do exchanges between Det 2, 5 Swiss, and them, as well as the EW exchanges with the folks over at C, as it pertains to the soft, cyber, and space triad, which is a lot of money to be made in that respect. The other thing is exciting to see is that morale and esprit de corps that is being built as they experience this. I think it's funny because I think as leaders we try to dream up all kinds of ways to create esprit de corps and morale and build solid, cohesive teams. But I think sometimes we forget that the best way to do that is through mutual hardship and struggle. And we have no shortage of that in the CENTCOM AOR. I mean, between Syria, the Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis trying to make hard Yemen aid. It's there. It's there, right? But in organizations where that you're not fortunate to have that, I say that with a question mark, you can create that through tough and realistic exercises and training, and making sure that you're integrating allies and partners into that. But the most important part of that is celebrating the successes that are achieved during that tough and realistic experiences. Otherwise, all you're going to do is disintegrate a team. So those are some of the highlights that I'd mention, sir.
Hey, so I want to ask one more question and then give you time to close up. So watching the time here, keep this one quick. But Jake, you've got two diverse continents. You've got NATO. What's going on in your security cooperation, and how are you working through that whole area there?
That's a good question, sir. It's travel. You cannot do, from my perspective, you can't do security cooperation behind a desk. And I think that's one of the things I didn't anticipate. I thought that phone calls, emails, things like that would work, but you got to go out and do the face-to-face. It matters when you show up. You understand their security situation, and you're offering solutions. And they're all different. And so the prep that I get from SAF-IA, your team, and that synchronization is important, but you got to travel. Yes, sir.
Hey, Tool, having worked in the predecessor to your organization, the Middle East is a really interesting place. What are your thoughts on security cooperation there?
I was not prepared for how much of my day was going to be taken up with security cooperation when I got in this job. I was worried about the current ops build in the organization. The demand signal from the CENTCOM AOR is deafening. We have a lot of countries that, no surprise here, that have deep pockets that want to become spacefaring nations. We need to engage with them, and if we don't, there's other countries willing to step in. We made the first foray, that thanks to Chief and General Burt, that helped me out by going to Dubai last year. We made a lot of good connections there, but going forward, our biggest challenge right now is the fact that I'm a colonel in the job, and getting entree into a lot of those forums in the Middle East is just not possible, and we've got a plan to rectify that. So we're a little bit handicapped right now, but we get support where we need it. The other thing on security cooperation is, the Central Asian states, people hear CENTCOM,
right.
They think the Gulf. There's a lot of opportunity there, and we could have a long conversation on that, but we ought not forget that Kazakhstan has a long history of space exploration, and we need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, thanks, Tool. Chachi, you have like this huge geographic area that you're responsible for with many different nations and different cultures in there. How are you doing this security cooperation?
Yeah, I'll double down on what Jake said. I mean, integration is a contact sport, and whether that's with the Joint Force or with allies and partners, showing up is the first step, and you gotta be there. So, AOR covers over 50% of the globe. Really strong partners like Australia, the ROCs in Korea, Japan. We've been working with India more over the last several months, and we'll be heading out there in February. But then also some of the other countries, the Philippines, very interested, and we participate in a number of exercises with them. Indo-PACOM alone has 120 exercises every year. That doesn't include any service exercises or Spacecom exercises that we might be asked to participate in. We get to right now about 10% of full integration, and then we have the others prioritized. But those are opportunities to bring those other nations. We don't have a unifying construct like NATO, in the Pacific. A lot of bilateral defense treaties, a lot of bilateral exercises, and we're trying to move more multilateral so that we can bring all those allies and partners together, similar to the way we do it in Europe. But it is tough on the team. Colonel Eamon Murray has done a good job in my S5 of working with Space Command, your team, SAF-IA, the Indo-PACOM team, to kind of bring for key leader engagements and unify that space message. In fact, I'd gotten feedback from SAF-IA that what he's doing is kind of setting the blueprint for how we should collectively engage with our allies and partners, because it can be confusing when they have a service component person and a Space Command person, and they're trying to figure out where should we engage. Admiral Paparo signed out the one voice for space memo when he took command, and what that really means is the component is the first step, the first stop, and whether you're industry wanting to do a demo or a test, or another ally or a partner, working with the component allows you to get into that Indo-PACOM battle rhythm and the process so that we can ensure that you're successful. So that's I think often an undervalued aspect of having service components in these commands. It helps with that integration.
All right, we're at the close of our time here, but I want to give you each 30 seconds to close up. So, Chief Grilla, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Well, first of all, shameless plug to go see our booth over in the across the hall. But again, you know, this has been a great event. I want to thank the SFA staff and organizers, but I really want to thank also all of you that attended. This is really what being a Guardian is all about. I appreciate it.
Chief T.
He kind of stole my words, but I wanted to really say thanks to SFA allowing us to be up here today. This is really important. When we come together with like-minded thoughts, like-minded people, we can make great strides. And whether that's working within our commercial and industry partners, within our other space components, other field commands, this is where partnership and integration happens. And I just really want to say thanks, and thanks to you, boss, for having a good time here.
Cool. I'm going to take, because Chief didn't use all 30 of his seconds, I'm going to take them. Hey, so a couple things. It's about people. One, to everyone that provides us Guardian soldiers, partner nations, downrange, we couldn't do it without you. I already mentioned they rotate out every 6 months. They're going to be downrange over the holidays. If you know a Guardian, pick up a phone, call them, say hello, check on their family, give them a hug. That's for you, Chief. Please reach out and continue to provide us those great individuals. You know, this week we're in the Cub with General Kurilla, and NavCent briefed something and right in line like, thank you to SpaceCent for what you provided during this operation. And that's a huge corner that we turned, that we were seamless with that. Break, the other part of the people. And again, back to the shameless plug of go and see in our booth. CENTCOM, we've got this long history of the DS4s. There's about 30 some odd DS4s. The first one is in 2004 when I was at CENTAF. And we went all the way up through these fine gentlemen here off to the right. I was the last DS4. It was about 30 some odd folks that filled that job over 22 years. And if you look at the history, and we got a poster over there, on the more senior side, you know, Raymond, Heighton, Thompson, sir, I'll throw you on the senior side. General Chess.
You saying a hole? What are you saying?
I'll throw General Saltzman in there too, just because he's the DC fact. And then on the more junior side, some of my immediate predecessors standing here to my right. I'm clearly standing on the shoulders of giants, literally and figuratively. But we clearly value the leadership we get from being in a component and being in a joint warfighting environment. I know we value that at the senior level. I hope as a service we continue to value that for all the individuals we're sending to us to work for us. They're not away from the flagpole. The flagpole just moved out. We need to take care of our Guardians and make sure they're progressing throughout their careers.
Thanks, Tool. Jake?
Sorry, I think Tool took some of my time.
All right.
Just,
Shocking.
Yeah,
Shocking.
Hey, sir, I'll try to make this quick. So here's what I would like everybody to take away from this. Guardians, and so I mean contractors, civilians, uniformed personnel. This is an exciting time. When you read the history books about the Air Force, which we should have all read, you can be part of this history. You know, own that, embrace it, think about it. What do you want the history books to say about you, right? Semper Super.
Gotcha.
Well, thanks again for leading this panel. You know, as we march toward 2027, and we do everything we can to be prepared for great power competition, you know, I just challenge all of the Guardians across the Space Force, and certainly in Indo-PACOM. You know, are we doing everything we can today so that those that are in harm's way potentially, should deterrence fail, have what they need? And when you really think about standing up a new component and building a Space Force presence, it's what do we need to put in place at scale so that we can be successful? And that's what drives the Guardians in Indo-PACOM every single day. Yeah, it's a lot of work, and sometimes it feels like a 3-year deployment, but the work is so rewarding because what you're doing is you're setting that foundation for the future and continued success. And I'm really proud to serve with each and every one of them in Indo-PACOM.
Well, hey, thanks for allowing us to talk about the component field commands and the service components. You'll see more of these in the future as we stand up other service components at the other combatant commands. And it's been a pleasure being on the stage with these professionals. And the folks up here represent, again, the thousands of women and men that right now, right this very second, are on operations floors doing the mission. so that once again, no one's going to try to attack the United States today because of what these folks, personnel are doing. And so thanks to the SFA, and please give a hand for this panel. Thank you.
Good job.
Well done.
Thanks, sir.
Nice job, my friend.
Sir.